Welcome, First Life. League One. Let's see how many people we can get. Interesting end to the season, I think. I'm a Rotherham fan, for my sins. It's been interesting, yeah. We've done quite well, really, overall. I've got the Sky Sports app next to me, having a look at the end to League One. And it's quite a hectic season, going from being 12 points ahead of second place Wigan to being several 3 points behind now. It's been quite a tough watch. Doing about 2 wins in 8 games, and all been quite difficult to to really comprehend how a team can go from being one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the league to being one of the worst. I think we were 20th in the form table, or somewhere like that, in the last couple of games. And quite my team Rotherham came down to Portsmouth and got thrashed, but they just didn't turn up. I don't mind teams losing. I don't mind Rotherham losing as long as they actually turn up and play football and actually want to play. But unfortunately, we've got several players whose contract finish at the end of the year, and I don't think they really. Not all of them have their hearts in with the team. Ladapo walked off for not being in the team on Saturday and just didn't turn up for the game. He wasn't on the sheet, so he just walked off and didn't bother turning up for the football match, which I think is not really something that you'd expect of a team player. I can only hope that, seeing as he's handed in his transfer request, that whoever he goes to can get something from him, because I think if he does that to one team, is he going to do that to the next team? And I worry that Ladapo will go to a different team and have the same attitude of, I'm here for the money, give me the cash and put me on the sheet and on team sheet, and if you don't, I just won't bother turning up. It's certainly interesting. I want to go to the Sunderland game. So you got the Rotherham Sunderland game on Tuesday, tomorrow. It's going to be a very frantic game. They come off of a 5-1 win. However, their opponents did lose a man through a red card after about 12 minutes. So playing 10 men can actually be more difficult, as Rotherham well know. But did they collapse as soon as they got a man sent off? Possibly. 5-1. They managed to score with 10 men. So there's a little bit of good news for Rotherham, or not a great deal. What do I expect from that game? I'll probably expect. I expect a defeat. I expect Sunderland to win. I expect Sunderland to win by 2 or 3 goals. I'm hoping for a draw. A draw's not really too great for Rotherham. A draw or defeat are both probably about the same for us. And then we go on to Gillingham, who are going to be fighting for their lives. Basically, they need to win to stay up, to have any chance of staying up. Will they? Can they beat Rotherham at home? So Rotherham go down to Gillingham. I think that they can probably win that one. They've managed over the last 2 or 3 games to start playing a bit better. I mean, Burton was a blip in the middle. They didn't even turn up for that one. But I think the Ipswich and the Oxford game show that we started to play back to our normal self again. And hopefully, I'm hoping for a win. I think that Gillingham, we should be able to win. In the bottom 4, yeah, we should be able to win those. What other games do we have? We have Fleetwood, Sheffield Wednesday, and now they're in exactly the same situation as when we go down to to Gillingham. Fleetwood really need a win to make sure that they stay up. And they're at home. Exactly the same situation. And Wednesday just want to be in the top 6. So they need a win as well. So both teams are going to be going hell for leather to try and win this game. I think that Wednesday have got better firepower, but I think their defence can be a little bit rocky at times. I think the stats show that Wednesday will probably let one in. It's a case of how many will they score at the other end. And Fleetwood can be really up and down. I think Fleetwood are one of those teams you can't just look at the stats and say, oh, right, okay, they should win this game or they should draw this one. They may turn up and they may do really well. I actually had them in the top half of the table right at the beginning of the season. I was estimating where the clubs would finish, and I know that I put Fleetwood in the top half. They can do it. So on a good day for Fleetwood, a draw, but I would expect a Sheffield Wednesday win on that one. Portsmouth Wigan. Portsmouth have been unusual because since they can't go up, they've actually started to play rather well, including thrashing my side Rotherham. Wigan have started to stutter and stumble. They got some great firepower. Keane, brilliant striker. I can't help thinking that Wigan will score. However, home crowd, big home crowd for the end of the season. I think that Portsmouth will just have too much for Wigan. Portsmouth are playing well. Wigan aren't playing well. I've got a feeling that they might stutter on that one, get a draw. It's either going to be a draw or a Portsmouth win. We go to the main ones for the top first. Shrewsbury Wigan. Well, I know it's Shrewsbury's last home game, but you've got to fancy Wigan on that one. I don't think there's any chance of a stutter on that one at all. Then we have Sheffield Wednesday, Portsmouth, which again, it's one of those things. Portsmouth are away. So the Wigan game is actually their last home game. So you can see the thought behind that. Their last home game, they've got a chance of winning it. But then they go away to Wednesday. I actually think that Wednesday will win that one. I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be really close. I think it's like 2-1 or 1-0, or it's not going to be there's not going to be an awful lot in it. The biggie of the day is Plymouth MK Dons. Plymouth are at home and looking at the table, everybody on 80 points. They have to win. They have to win their last home game. They got to, because there's that many teams on 80 points that they really must try and get something out of it. Do I think Plymouth have the abilities? Their defence can be a bit rocky at times. I noticed several times, like on Saturday, they were going forward and they'd have two at the back, and you're thinking, where's the back line gone? Where's your defence? And they almost got caught out a couple of times by not really having that defensive lineup in position. MK Dons are the sort of team to walk straight through that. But critically, they're not actually doing so well now. They have actually started to falter a little bit, just at the wrong time. I can see that being a draw. Absolutely. It's got a draw written all over it. Both teams are really eager to win. They're going to be going flat out, full on attack. and I can see the defence just being, let's forget the defence. We have to attack. And I can see it being a high score draw. I can see it being something like 3-3 or a 2-2. Oxford Doncaster. Doncaster have actually been playing really well recently, and I really feel sorry for them. They're going down fighting, even though they are going down. Oxford, nothing to play for, but Pride is the manager insisting they play for Pride. I think they'll get a home win. I think Doncaster are just not ticking enough. They've not improved enough to beat a side like Oxford. Morecambe, Sunderland. Morecambe just want to make sure that they don't get pulled into the relegation zone on the last day. Sunderland want to make sure they're in the top six. They could get overtaken. They could even finish second. But I think the likelihood here is that that Sunderland will win it, but Morecambe could just put that fly in the ointment. Home game, need to win, and they're not being played too badly. Crewe, Lincoln, nothing to play for. For either team, Pride for Crewe perhaps, but I think Lincoln have enough ability there to overpower Crewe. Ipswich, Charlton, two of the biggest spenders of the League One. I don't know what on earth Charlton are going to do. Top spenders of the year, and going into this away from home, mid-table, not really doing anything. I think Ipswich will win it. They have been playing really well. I just worry for Charlton next year. Financially, I hope they've got enough. They've got a big enough crowd. Have they got enough income to really push them through a sort of wasted spend this year? Gillingham, Rotherham. I really have to back my side, Rotherham. I don't think Gillingham are really going to put up a great fight. They have to try and win, and they're at home. I think they will probably put up an extremely good defence, and will probably put up an extremely good defence for a long time. It will probably be 0-0 for quite a while. I can see it being a 1-0 to Rotherham. I really can. Although you have to remember that Rotherham's main goalie is off for the season with a broken finger. Cambridge, Cheltenham, another nothing game. Both teams I put in the bottom four at the beginning of the season, and I'm quite surprised at Cambridge. They did really well in the first third of the season, and then they dropped off. And then in the last third, obviously the fixtures mirror themselves. And Cambridge came into that good form again, playing the same teams they played in the first third really well. And it's sort of the season's mirrored itself for them quite interestingly. I think they'll win that one. Burton Wycombe. Now I can see this being a draw. For the simple reason I think Burton have been playing quite well. They've gone from not scoring to that Manchester United goalie they've got, which he's just amazing, absolutely amazing goalie. I can't see anyone scoring against him. Not this season, not for this game. Wycombe, they don't really. They've not got a strike force that's brilliant enough to beat that goalie. I think that Wycombe will score 0, and then it's a case of will Burton score, and all of a sudden they start scoring. I can see it being a 1-0, 2-0 to Burton. Bolton, Fleetwood. Are they really bothered? I think Bolton will win. Another. I think Bolton. I think spent the second highest spenders in the league this year. Another one who is a good job. They got a big crowd because financially, what do when they spend millions of pounds on players and fees and building a team that does nothing? You've got to feel for them, and as a football fan, I wouldn't want them to go the way of Bury and have someone thinking, well, I spent all this money and got nothing for it. Wimbledon, Accrington. The only side really there that's got anything to play for is Wimbledon, and there has been a slight upturn. I think Wimbledon will probably start to pick up on that, um, probably with a 1-0 win. But it's been quite an interesting year. Um, all the teams, certainly in the top half, have had a run of good fortune and bad fortune. 6 to 8 games run of defeats. MK Dons have played pretty average for most of the season, and then all of a sudden they've had an excellent run of form, winning something like 12 or 13 on the bounce. And then now they've just, they're not collapsed, but they've certainly not. It's as if people have found out how to stop them. And I think that's what Rotherham fans were worried about with Rotherham. We played well most of the season. And then in January, we started playing badly. And then I think in February, March, people started to realise how they could stop Rotherham playing. Then we lost all 5 strikers, and Smith was playing with a broken toe. Two painkilling injections into his black foot every game. That for me is a footballer. He's not the sort of striker to stop and I'm injured. I say I'm not playing golf. I'm just going to sit out and not play. And I think he did it last season as well. He broke his foot then, and he played as the only striker we had. And he is a footballer. He's the one of those guys who he wears his heart on his sleeve. And if anybody does buy him, then I think next year they'll have an excellent footballer who will play for the team as part of the team. And I hope he doesn't go. I think he will. Even if we go up, I think he will go somewhere. And whoever gets him, you've got a brilliant player, because he will play. He actually tries 110% each game, even if he's not scoring. He's trying. He's really putting it out there. And like you say, who else would play with a bloody broken foot? But play with a broken foot, 2 injections, is amazing. And my hat off to him. He's one of my favourite players as far as football is concerned. And I like to think I'm a football supporter rather than just a Rotherham supporter. How do I think the season will end? I think Wigan will finish first. I think that last game here, which is Wigan Plymouth. Nope, that was that one. Gone back. Why has it gone back? I've got to go forward now to next Saturday. See, next Saturday's Wigan game is really quite easy, isn't it? Shrewsbury. I think the Shrewsbury Wigan game is just the icing on the cake for them. They should, even playing badly, be able to beat them. And I think Shrewsbury will finish first. I think 8 out of 10 times Rotherham will finish second. And I think with who MK Dons are playing, I think we'll go for a Rotherham second. I'm then worried because I think, well, I'm not worried. I think that Sunderland could finish third. And the reason I say that is because they got the game in hand. And they're 6 points behind. And MK Dons have a goal difference of 29. Sunderland have a goal difference of 25. They only have to win. If MK Dons lose their game 1-0, they only have to pull back 3 goals to be even with them. Could they get 3 goals against Rotherham and their last game? Why not? I mean, Morecambe. They should slot a few against Morecambe. You can see them scoring 3 or 4 goals, at least in those those two games. So I think Sunderland could finish third, and I think Dons could finish fourth. I think we'll see Plymouth. This is where it gets difficult, isn't it, guys? Because who's Plymouth playing? Yeah, Plymouth are playing Dons, you see. And that's where you've got to think. Because for Dons to actually... So Sunderland can't finish third, can they? Oh, they can. They've got an inferior goal, same goal difference. So both Sunderland and Plymouth win. Sunderland have got 2 wins, so they'll get a better goal difference from that. So I think you could, I'll go back to my original thoughts on that one. I think we'll get Sunderland third, Plymouth, Sunderland third, MK Dons slip in the middle because Plymouth only have 1 game. And then you get Plymouth. And then you've got a fight on your hands between Wycombe and Wednesday for 6th place. Wycombe and Wednesday, which one do we go? Now, look at Wycombe and Wednesday, shall we? Wednesday playing Portsmouth. And Wycombe, Burton. Now you see, Wycombe Burton is a difficult one. But they're both about the same difficulty, you see, and that's what gets me. I think they could quite easily match each other, these 2 games. And if they match each other, then, to be quite honest, Wycombe and Wednesday will stay in the same positions where they are, which is 1 point difference between them. And Wycombe will go up it will stay in the top 6. And Wednesday will stay in 7th. They would have preferred, obviously, that Sunderland didn't win both their games, but I think they will. And they'd obviously prefer Plymouth didn't win their game against Dons, but I think they will. So you end up with Wednesday, even if they win, finishing on 81 points. And none of those teams in that 3-point gap will look like losing. So I think Wednesday may be the biggest loser of the day. Then down at the bottom, Crewe and Doncaster are down. Wimbledon, I think, could get something here, but probably not. Gillingham, I think Gillingham will be fighting. I think they will lose. Goal difference is way against Gillingham. So even if they did manage to fluke a win against Rotherham, Fleetwood Fleetwood have to just match them to stay in there with the to stay above them. Gillingham, I think, will go down on goal difference. Fleetwood will wipe their brow and think, what did we do defensively? What on earth did we do? Number of times I went 2-0 up and then finished 2-2. It was just phenomenally ridiculous. Morecambe, rebuilding for next year. I think they've done well to finish in the position they have done. I think they'll be quite happy with what. I think the fans should be quite pleased with themselves. Most people put them in the bottom 4. I did. Lincoln City, I really thought Lincoln would finish higher up than that. They really do have to look at themselves and think, why did they drop so low? They shouldn't be down there. Shrewsbury fans are going to be happy. I think they've got a good manager there now, and I think that they'll. There's only one way they're going, and that's gently, slowly improving themselves year on year. Burton, financially worried about them. I think they spent a hell of a lot of money for their size, and I don't know if they really can afford to continue that year on year. Cheltenham, I had those in the bottom four, and look where they are, mid-table. Cambridge, I had near the bottom four, sort of like bottom six, and they're mid-table. Brilliant finish for them. And I've seen them on television, and they are actually played really well. Accies, they're sort of mid-table team, I think now, I think they'd be happy if you go back 10 years. They'd be bloody chuffed about being a mid-table League One team. Charlton again, top spenders of the year along with Bolton. What you're going to do over the next 2 years. Financial fair play goes over 3 years, which means if they have overspent from their income, although their income is quite high and their gate receipts are quite high, it would mean that they would have to underspend for the next 2 years to balance it out, and have underspent for the last 2 years. It would have been nice to have a fan on and tell us if they did underspend for the last 2 years. Ipswich and Bolton, both big spenders, and not going anywhere. It's a lot of money to spend, millions of pounds on something that didn't occur. And then Portsmouth and Oxford, who I think they're going to be quite disappointed, to be honest. I think that Oxford just had a few blips where they didn't quite do as well as what they thought they should have done within games. Some of the refereeing in League One has been absolutely atrocious. Really has, and you have to hope, I think, in games that when you have a really bad ref, that it somehow balances itself out, and that you have a bad ref one day, and then the next day you have a bad ref that referees in your favour. So I think the losers from Saturday will be Sheffield Wednesday. Even though I think they'll win on that final day, I think that they're going to find it tough. They're going to find it tough. I look at that and I think that final day game is going to be really, really difficult for them. They still can't get in. They've got 2 games, remember. And if they do, it'll be Wycombe that drop out, and I think Wycombe will be the ones that will be the big losers. So one of the biggest losers will either be Wycombe or Wednesday. I'm thinking it's going to be Wednesday, but it depends how well Fleetwood and Portsmouth play when they play them. I think the biggest winners have to be Wigan. They've managed to play badly since January and grind out draws and wins, mainly wins. They've fallen off recently, but they've been playing the same football. Just they've been tiring themselves out because they've had about 4 or 5 games to pull back. So they had so many games in hand, and they had to play them. I think they got really quite tired, and it's showing near the end of the game. They're sort of tiring out a bit and just not getting those late goals that they were getting. And I think that Wigan have shown that the best team in a division is the one that battles out those extra wins. It's not the one that does a Fulham and basically just walks over everybody and has a Mitrovic in there that can score 2 or 3 goals a game constantly. It's about those teams that can win even when they're playing badly. And Wigan have done that, and I think the biggest winner has to be Wigan. I think I would sum up Rotherham's season as just being one of those typical seasons where they lose about 6 in a row at some point, and I think it just happened to be 6 out of 8. I think they pulled back at the right time, but it's a typical Rotherham season. MK Dons, I'm sure they're extremely proud of themselves. They've not really let up until recently, and I think that's not because they're playing badly. I think it's because other teams have started to see them and think that actually, we can stop these, and they're looking at other teams and how they've stopped them, and then duplicating what they've done and stopping them. And it's like all of a sudden they're not getting it their own way, and the key players are being bullied out of the game, and they're slowing it down so that they can't get that quick football they like. And it's suddenly become quite aware that other teams can stop them, but probably at the wrong time, going into the playoffs with people knowing how to stop you, not really very good. So the playoffs, I think Sunderland will be in the final. I think whoever they play, if they do finish third, then I think if it's Wednesday, Wycombe, Plymouth, they can beat any of those three. I think the middle teams then would be MK Dons versus someone, and I think MK Dons, even with this little poor-ish run, they should be able to walk over those. And then I think it's Sunderland versus the Dons, the fake Dons. And I think the Sunderland they've impressed me over the last few games. The fans have got behind them, and I think that you'll see Sunderland going up this year. I think it's their year. So, would I say Sunderland had a reasonable run? They went on that six or 7 game poor run where all the fans were on their manager's back and got him sacked. I don't think it's the manager's fault. I think it's the players' fault. They just didn't. I mean, they had great players. They have got great players. It's just they didn't click and they didn't play with each other. They were almost playing. I saw a few runs from the back, and you're thinking, pass it, and he wouldn't. It's like you're a team member. Play as a team member. That's not the manager's fault. That's the player's fault. You can probably say it's the manager's fault because he should have seen that one in game 1 and not put him in game 2 because he's been too selfish. But I don't think you can call it a managerial problem. So we go into the end of the year, and I think that the 3 teams to go up will be Wigan, Rotherham, and MK Dons. Sorry, I wish. Wigan, Rotherham, and Sunderland. I think the MK Dons will just miss out in the final, and I think that's what that's going to be an absolute amazing game. The final will be whoever it's between is going to be a massive game. If Wednesday win both their games, then it could be a Sunderland Wednesday game. In which case, I wouldn't like to even try and think who's going to win out of Sunderland and Sheffield Wednesday. Sunderland will turn up this time, and they won't be letting 5 goals in or 4 goals in. They'll be gunning for them, and I think you will see that back line of Wednesday can be a bit rocky. They let goals in against teams that they really shouldn't be letting goals in against. They go 2-0 up, and they do the same as Fleetwood. They'll go 2-0 up, and then they'll let 1 or 2 in, and you think, how? They were 2-0 up against, they were 3-0 up against Dons, weren't they? And then they let 2 in, and you think they put the pressure on themselves. The miles ahead, and they put pressure on themselves by that back line disintegrating. I spoke to a Wednesday fan on a different blog, and it's like, oh no, you don't know what you're on about. You know, our defence is solid. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. It's rocky. It let 2 goals in when Rotherham played them, and they just walked through the defence. So it's not. You know, if they had a better defence, then they would be not going 3-0 up and finishing 3-2. Simple as that. Hopefully, everybody enjoys the game that they're going to be watching. Hopefully, everybody has a decent game to watch. It's like when I went down to Portsmouth to see Rotherham versus Portsmouth. I don't mind watching a game where we lose. What I don't like to see is the team not turn up and not try. And what we saw there down at Rotherham, at Portsmouth, was a Rotherham team that just didn't have any drive, no desire, no fight. It was as if we were at the bottom of the league. And I think that we will see a better side coming out in the next 2 games. But I hope everybody finds their side putting a decent team out and actually trying to finish the season well. Even if you lose, I hope that your team plays well and plays football, and everybody can enjoy the fact that they've seen a good game, even if it was a draw or a defeat. But I'd like to wish everybody a win, but unfortunately, not everybody can win, as we all know. So thank you, goodbye, and if you did like it, please do click like. Please do. I hope to get at least 5 viewers. Let's see if we do. I'll target about 2 likes, shall we? From 5 viewers, we'll have a go. Thank you and goodbye. And roll on the end of the season.